Hi, my name is Dylan Straffen. I am one half of Team 20, and I'm going to be doing our Sprint number 4 demo walkthrough video for you today. Just a quick reminder, my partner and I are working on developing a task/event management system, something that allows users to input their own tasks and save tasks so that it's easier to keep track of busier schedules. And to start this video off, I'm just going to be going through our sprint goals for this week. As is usual, we adapted kind of our goals from last week based off what we were able to accomplish, what we weren't able to accomplish, just to get a more goal-oriented and better focused set of goals for this week. But for starters, the big thing that we spent a lot of time on was adding the functionalities for users to add their own tasks to the system. That allows users to input and add their own events, including name, date, time, and just short description and location into the actual system in a way that will be displayed for them. So kind of going alongside that, we also worked on finishing the add task interface. That's the actual interface users will be interacting with when they want to actually add in their own events. And also going alongside that, we worked on finishing the main display interface, and that's the main display interface where the user added tasks will actually be shown to the user. So two very essential and very important parts of the application's functionality, and definitely something we really wanted to focus on completing this sprint. And we were lucky enough to get that done. Alongside that, we did some more work on getting persistent data functioning, and although it's not functioning yet, we're still making good progress towards getting that working, so users will hopefully be able to permanently save their tasks and edit them going forward. And then lastly, as usual, we worked on making some further usability and aesthetic improvements. These are just improvements in general things across the board that make the app look nicer, make it easier to use. And this week in particular, we worked on updating and giving both the buttons and some of the interfaces themselves a more modern and kind of contemporary design. And then alongside that, we worked on adding icons to a bunch of the buttons just so that users could more quickly identify what they're looking for, and it also doesn't hurt to look nice. So yeah, that's our sprint goals. Next, I'm going to be going and walking you through a front-end demo of the application itself. Alrighty, so as usual, I've moved over our sprint goals just onto the right side of the screen to make it a little easier to follow along with these kind of front-end improvements and show exactly how they relate to the goals themselves. A lot of them are self-explanatory, but it doesn't hurt to make it a little easier to follow along. So to begin, I'm just going to start by launching the application. You'll notice right off the bat that there's an icon here for the new user button. There are going to be a number of new icons throughout this video, and just to keep from getting redundant, I'm only going to kind of really explain them right now. But I actually found a nice, simplistic, minimalistic icon set online, found the icons that pertain to our application, and implemented them kind of as I saw fit, just to, like I said earlier, make a better looking system and a more easily identifiable button system. So you'll notice a kind of a user profile here next to the new user. You'll also notice these login and new user buttons, along with the rest of the buttons throughout the rest of the demo, have been changed to a kind of more flat, minimalistic design. We felt that the kind of older button style made the application look just a little bit clunkier, a little bit older, and making even just these small changes can kind of go a long way in terms of users actually liking the application and actually using it. So to continue, I'm just going to log in. You'll notice big changes here on our main home interface. We actually got rid of the column system we were using previously to display our data. We actually found that when users would add in their data based off if they wanted to add comments in or information about places, that it would sometimes break the columns because that actual string of information would be longer than we originally expected, and we wanted to give users the ability to write as much information as they needed to about their specific event. So we actually kind of changed our system. It's now going to be displayed not in columns but in rows, but I'll get more into that later as I show off the functionality of it. And like I said, new icons, new buttons for all of these. So next I'm going to go right into the new task. So just as an example, I'm going to show you adding a task into the application, adding a couple tasks, showing you just exactly how it functions and how it's designed to serve our users as best as possible. So just an example, say we had a stat exam. Now using the calendar function, I'm able to select a day, so maybe it's this Thursday, April the 13th. You'll notice that with these spinners that are used to select time, we've actually put a cap on them. It's using 24-hour Army time, but you'll notice that there's a cap here for 24. So say this event is at 8:49. If I go all the way up to 59, it'll stop the spinner from going any further so that we don't get any improper times. Now, if a user does choose to edit it with the keyboard, as some users might choose to do, they can add in a number like that, or if they do type in something that's an invalid time, it'll give them a red error kind of color showing that this time maybe isn't what they're really looking for. In doing that, we'll also push, if they ended up adding the event like this, it'll push that extra 18 minutes over. It'll kind of subtract 60 from it just so the time itself is still kept correct. So say it's at 8:45. Notice we added this comments because we realized that our users were wanting to add comments about their event and not just information about the place. So maybe IST room number 202, even though it's a stat exam, and then comment bring maybe a graphing calculator, something that a typical user might want to actually add to their task itself. So now you'll notice when I hit add event, it gets a little confirmation message that the event was added, and then also telling the user that they're able to create a new event or return directly to the main menu to see their events. So I'm going to just real quickly show off the main menu. You'll notice it now displays their event right there, broken off by section, and that will allow users to quickly see exactly what they have. April 13th, stat exam, 8:45, IST room 202, bring a graphing calculator. All the information they added is there. And then just to further show this off, I'm just going to add 2 more test events just to show the scrolling functionality of the application. So say this event is Thursday, it's at 9:13, doesn't really matter, and it's in room 202 of IST. So I'll hit add event. Okay, the event is added, great. On the main menu, I can keep adding events, so I'm just going to add another event, so test event number 2, and say this is on the 7th, and it's also at 9:15, so I'll hit add event, and then if I return, you'll notice we have the functionality to scroll through their events. Now there's not enough to really display how that's needed for a user, but users will want to be adding tons of tasks potentially to the application, so letting them scroll through all their events broken in a nice, easy to use, organized fashion, we thought was a great way to display this for the users. That also works well and allows them to add as much comment as they need to or as they see fit. And then real quickly, just to show the View Monthly, this is our updated View Monthly view. Once again, a more modern and kind of contemporary design, more minimalistic, something we thought users would appreciate. But yeah, that's the bulk of the front end changes. So next I'm going to go to a code walkthrough and just talk about how we actually got this application working. Alrighty, so for this code walkthrough, the main thing I'm going to be talking about is how these added events get passed through our application, through the different controllers, because that was the main goal during our sprint, this added functionality for users to add their own tasks. So just to begin, we definitely had a bunch of trouble doing this. We probably had as big trouble as we've had facing anything during this application other than, of course, persistent data. But we did finally get it working, which was very satisfying to figure out. So to begin, I'm just going to go to the Create UI where it all starts. So within this Create UI, you'll see this chunk of code here that actually gets the data for that the user has inputted into that Create a New Task UI that I was showing off earlier. You'll notice that we have our dates taken from that calendar picker into the simple date format so that it can more easily be displayed. That's that classic month, day, year type format. We have our spinners here. These spinners are currently set up so that if a user selected, say, a single digit for the amount of minutes, it wouldn't show up as, 9:05 instead of 9:05. It'll actually read that and add in the added zero so that all of our time is kept in kind of that standard format. That was something we thought would be pretty important for the application and definitely something users would want. So when events are actually added, when the user clicks that Add Event button, notice we have this J option pane shown, event added, just to confirm, so users know that their click has been registered. But you'll see the main thing here is that the add event, all of these different variables that make up each event are then passed to the navigation controller. So I'll jump right into the navigation controller here. Right here is actually where you'll see where they get passed next through the navigation controller, right on to the event controller. The way we did this was obviously with as much MVC as possible. We wanted to kind of put everything in its own different spots so that working on things later and getting persistent data would be far less complex than if it was, for say, just in a single location. That could be a large pain to deal with later. So the event controller is called within this navigation controller, and it's passed this new created event. So I'll jump right into the event controller here, and you'll see this is where a large portion of the code for actually storing this information is. You'll notice it's all saved in an array that's being generated by the event controller. And then within this public void create event here, this is where it's actually being passed on with all the information that the user has entered onto the event list. Once again, just keeping everything encapsulated as possible. That was kind of our goal throughout it, and probably why it took us maybe longer than we expected to actually build it, but we're glad we did it this way because we're going to have added functionality later and it's just an added ease of use when it comes time to get persistent data working. So after it's passed to the event list, our main menu is then going to call it, and this is where it's actually being displayed itself. So that main interface that I spoke a lot about, where it shows no longer in columns, but each broken up line by line, all the variables that go with each specific event. So you'll see here all of both the date, the name, the time, the place are being called from this event list and then placed into a format, and then it's actually just being displayed right here break by break with this code, this chunk of code here that actually separates it line by line and then displays it within our actual main menu, main interface display. So other than that, most of the changes we made this sprint were aesthetics or usability focused, so not as much code but a lot more visual design type stuff. But like I said, this was the main goal for our sprint, and we managed to get it working and got the code working in a way that we think is going to be helpful for us going forward. So glad to have overcome that challenge, and I think that concludes the sprint demo. Thank you for watching.